in which I read 32 books, mostly manga. Let's go ahead and get started. First up, Blue Exorcist, Volume 16 by Katsue Kato, about a group of exorcists. They're training to defeat demons. We follow two twin brothers, one who happens to be part demon, so that has an added twist to it. It's got some really great artwork through it, excellent caricatures, one of my all-time favorites, 5 stars all the way through. I tried a new manga called Kagero Days by Mahiro Sato. This is volume 1, about a computer geek who's a bit of a shut-in. For 2 years he hasn't left his home. His name is Shintaro. He finally goes out of the house to get a computer part, walks into a hostage situation at the mall. His sister is also there, and she runs into a group of people with special powers. She may also have these special powers. Intriguing kind of concept to it. I'm kind of looking forward to see where that goes. Really enjoyed it. I will be picking up volume 2. Bakuman Volume 3 by the creators of Death Note, one of my all-time favorites. This is not one of my all-time favorites. So far it's ranging around 3 stars. It features 2 students trying to become manga artists. They're competing against this other student who seems to be succeeding and getting into publication. They have yet to kind of reach the top, and it spends a lot of time talking about how they're trying to find their right niche and what way they should go with their manga. I'm getting a little bored with it. It's very heavily text, and even the artwork is a little bit jumbled, and they're not as enjoyable as Death Note, but I'll continue and give it a little bit more time. I read volumes 8 and 9 of One Piece by Eiichiro Oda. This is about a pirate named Monkey D. Luffy who's trying to find One Piece, the greatest treasure in the world, and he's currently building his crew, and this kind of wraps up the story arc of Sanji, who becomes his chef. Really great. I like the way they do a lot of character development. Lots of humor. Absolutely wonderful series, and I will be going on with this and on because it's a very long series. I tried a new series called I'm a Hero. This is by Kengo Hanazawa. This is Omnibus 1 and Omnibus 2. And it is about this character by the name of Hideo, and he is a manga artist. And he is a bit of a paranoid schizophrenic. You see in the beginning all these locks and things on his door, and he's searching out the apartment and seems to think that someone could be there. And later on he's sitting down to dinner and there's someone he's talking to. But that person isn't actually there. He's imagining this person. He has a girlfriend who somewhere around the midway gets infected with whatever this zombie virus that sort of breaks out. And she's breaking the door trying to get to him, and, you know, he's sort of like, you don't seem well, are you okay, what's wrong? And, like, dude, she's trying to eat you. How do you not see that there's something seriously wrong with her? It takes a while for things to kind of, for him to realize what's going on in the situation as this apocalypse is unfolding around him, and he's going to have to step into that role of hero that he keeps claiming to be. And he seems to be the one person, or one of the few people, armed in the city of Tokyo. Why this person has guns, I don't know. But very fascinating. Looking forward to continuing with that. I picked up volume 3 of Corpse Party Blood Covered, and these are the author and artist. This is a horror manga geared for older teens. It can be quite gruesome at times. It's about kids trapped in an alternate universe in an old school where some kids were kidnapped and murdered, and the ghosts are kind of appearing and affecting their minds and the way they're thinking, and they're becoming separated. They're all in sort of like different pockets of time within this school, and it's really, really interesting. I read a ton, and I literally mean a ton, of Attack on Titan. This is by that manga artist right there, and I love this. Once I got started, I couldn't stop. I actually have volume 20 waiting for me at work, and I'll just show you the covers briefly. This is about a world where these strange titans have appeared. They are huge. You can see in comparison to the humans how big they are. And they eat people. Society has been like, they built their cities surrounded by walls, but some of these titans can break through. And we have the Survey Corps, a group that kind of battle against them. The titans are very strange. We don't know where they've come from, how they produce, because they don't seem to they seem to be genderless, so they don't know how they reproduce or anything. But really, really interesting series. On the back you see silhouettes of the Survey Corps, and they're fewer and fewer as the story goes because they're getting killed off. No one is safe in this series. Another, those are like 5 stars all the way across too, by the way. I highly recommend that. And also another one I highly recommend is Cage of Eden. And this is by Yoshinobu Yamada. This is sort of like Lost meets Jurassic Park. Students crash on an island with mysterious creatures and there's strange structures, so that indicating that people might have been on this island once before. I love the bonds that have taken place between several of these students. They've created this group and they're inseparable. They'll do anything for each other, even though other people seem to turn kind of evil on this island. Try to like separate them and break them down. But they keep fighting, and they're trying to find out the mystery behind this island and find a way off of it. So I'll just show you the covers really quickly. Volume 13, 14, 15, there's some more creatures. 16. One thing I could do with a little bit without is some of the fan service. This kind of stuff that gets a little bit much within this series from time to time, but other than that, I love everything else about the rest of it. I love the character development of each of these. And the whole mystery behind it. There's always like a new mystery pops up. And this freaking volume was the last one I read, and it left me on such a cliffhanger. I can't wait to order more. Highly recommend that. Then I picked up a new series, new for me. It's been out for a while. It's called Barakamon. This is by Satsuki Yoshino. I picked up volume 1 and volume 2. It's just a delightful, kind of coming of age type thing. It's very much like Yotsuba. Lots of comedy, great funny moments within it. And Seishu Handa, let's call him Handa. This gentleman here, he is a calligrapher whose boss recently told him that his work is just sort of mediocre. And he wasn't happy with that assessment and actually punched him. So I don't know if he still has his job or not, but at the suggestion of his father, he goes to this island to kind of work on his craft, where he meets this young girl named Naru, who has sort of uses his place that he's renting at the moment, has been using it as a sort of hideout with her and her friends, and they've created little access points all the way, so it takes him a while before he can kind of keep them out, but he won't be able to keep her out of his life because she just keeps, just plucky little first grader who keeps popping up and kind of opening up his eyes to other parts of life and other things, and it's just absolutely so sweet. And I really like the artwork. I like I said, the characters are the best part of it. That's it for the manga. Then I went in and picked up a graphic novel by Reina Telgemeier, one of my all-time favorites. This is called Ghosts. She previously did these three, Smile and Sisters, which are sort of semi-autobiographical, and then another one called Drama. Absolutely love her work. Very, very colorful and bright, kind of a middle grade type graphic novel. This one is about a family that moves to Northern California. This is Katrina and her younger sister Maya, and they move there because Maya has cystic fibrosis, and this coastal town has cold, salty air, which apparently is supposed to be better for her breathing. But it's a town that's very into the Day of the Dead, which is coming up, and they believe ghosts come, and Katrina is sort of freaked out about the idea of ghosts, although her sister is more open to things, and it's just a really, sweet story about her and her sister, and it's about friendship and family and kind of opening up, facing your fears. I think she has fears about the outcome with her sister. She has fears of the ghosts, but it is just a really, really sweet story. Here's some images of some of the ghosts sort of appearing and her reaction to it. Priceless, but I really enjoyed this one a lot. Like I said, I like her work, and always look forward to a new one showing up. My last three books for December were all audiobooks. So the first one was nonfiction, entitled The Suspicions of Mr. Witcher by Kate Summerscale, subtitled Murder and the Undoing of a Great Victorian Detective. My library had this as audiobook, so I went ahead and downloaded it. I love the literary references that are interspersed throughout this book. It shows how the creation of the detective force was in a way brought about by literature, with the creation of an amateur detective in Edgar Allan Poe's Murder of the Rue Morgue. It led to the creation of a detective force, an 8-man team, including one Mr. Witcher, Jonathan Witcher. Jonathan Witcher himself was a good friend of Charles Dickens, who used him as an inspiration for one of his characters in The Mystery of Edwin Drood. Also, Wilkie Collins used him as an inspiration for his detective, Sergeant Cuff, in The Moonstone. You get tons of references throughout this book, and I wish I had a physical copy to kind of go back and bring those back to memory. I should have written them down as I listened to it, but I will probably one day go ahead and pick up a physical copy of it if I can find one. But I absolutely love that, how the ties to literature, back and forth. You get a lot of history within this book about how, when terms were first used, like clues and things like that. a lot of history of the detective field. But there's also a murder mystery here, but it doesn't, though, I have to say that isn't like, almost like in a way the main focus. It sort of is, but you're kind of brought into like a lot of other topics quite often, like the history and things, like I said. But the main mystery of it is a young boy is murdered in a home. The inspector at the time believes it is the child's nurse, and she's accused and brought to trial. But when Detective Witcher's brought on the case, he believes it happens to be the older stepsister. Now, the way the case plays out, they say it's sort of the the unraveling of a great detective, so things aren't quite going the way he anticipates. But I felt like, as the case is sort of unfolding, that I didn't feel like he had enough evidence to really prove his case. But still, the story was quite interesting, and like I said, I love the other aspects to it as well that made me really interested in it, and overall I gave it 4 stars. Next up, another nonfiction audio entitled The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks by Rebecca Skloot. Probably a lot of people have heard about this. It's gotten a lot of hype, and it was very, very interesting, a medical and science story, but also, there's a definite human side to it, about a woman named Henrietta Lacks, who was sort of unknown for quite some time, who went in for cervical cancer. Her cells were taken kind of without her permission, but at the time wasn't really required. These cells have now lived outside of her body longer than they ever lived within. I think you could wrap the cells around the earth like 3 or 4 times. They've been used in medical research and science research, unbeknownst to her family, for quite a lot of years. Even Rebecca Skloot, who found out about the woman through a class, to ask the professor, who was this woman? He said not a lot is known about her, and she sets off to write this book. The story is also about Rebecca Skloot and her quest to find out more about this woman, trying to make a connection with the family, who definitely mistrust anybody who's ever come to want anything from them. After the way, they felt their mother was treated, and no permission and all this stuff. So there's a definite lack of trust within it. So it takes a while for her to kind of get all this information and create this novel, which I found absolutely fascinating. I highly recommend it, and I gave it 5 stars. And finally, I listened to The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. This is read by Josephine Bailey. I'd never read this story before. Absolutely loved it. New favorite classic of mine, about a young girl who lived in India with her mother. She's pretty much shunned, never got any love from her. When her mother dies, she goes to live with an uncle, and kind of, in a way, is also shunned. He's dealing with the grief over the loss of his wife. Doesn't spend a lot of time at the home, but allows her to, have the run of the place pretty much. And you see this child sort of starts to grow and come alive out in the open air and exploring and finding a garden, a secret garden, and you watch that garden grow along with her. And it was just a really lovely story. Going to be one of my all-time favorite classics. Highly recommend it. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up because I'm running out of time to upload this. So, yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye-bye.